Today we're going to learn how to use function machines with multiplication. The first direction is to check the rule box. The rule box is over here. Notice the rule for this problem is to multiply by 4. That means I'm going to be getting bigger because multiplying is like adding in that you get bigger. So as I go from the in to the out, I'm going to be getting bigger because if I multiply by 4, it's going to be getting larger. The next step is to make a chart next to the problem where I skip count by the rule. So I'm going to be skip counting by 4. This is what my chart would look like. Notice on one side I've just counted 1 through 10. Now I need to skip count by 4. I know that I would start with 4 because 1 times 4 is 4. Then if I just skip count on, it would go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Now if I'm not sure what comes next, remember I can always just count on. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 would be another 4. Skip count 4 more, so 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Skip count 4 more, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. And last but not least, skip count 4 more, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Now that I have this chart, filling in the function machine is incredibly easy. All I have to do is match up the numbers in the chart with what I just created to find what it matches up. So I'm looking for what matches up with the 3. Over here on the chart, I can see a 12 matches up with the 3 because 3 times 4 equals 12. Now I have a 7. I look down on my chart. What matches up with the 7 is a 28 because 7 times 4 is 28. Now the chart that you made is extremely helpful because now all I have to do is look at what's on the other side of 20 to figure out 4 times what equals 20. So over here I find 20 and it matches up with a 5 because 5 times 4 equals 20. Same thing here. I have a 36. I look down my chart to see what matches up with the 36. I can see that it's a 9. 9 matches up with 36 because 9 times 4 equals 36. Here I have a 1. I look down my chart. Here I have the 1. It matches up with a 4 because 1 times 4 equals 4. And last but not least, I have an 8 on this side. I look for an 8. It matches up with 2 because 2 times 4 equals 8. With that, you have your first function machine done. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Again, the first rule is to check my rule box. Notice my rule this time is times 3. Because it's multiplication, it still means it's going to be getting bigger as I go from in to out, because any of these numbers times 3 is going to get bigger. The next step is to make that chart again. As you remember, we numbered 1 through 10, and then we just skip count by 3s this time. So 1 times 3 is 3, and then I just skip count. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. What comes after 15? If you guessed 18, you'd be correct. What comes after 18? If you guessed 21, you'd be correct. If you're not sure, remember just count on by 3. 21 plus 3 more would be 24. What's 24 plus 3? If you said 27, you would be correct. And last but not least, what's 27 plus 3? If you said 30, you are absolutely correct. Now the last step, remember, is to match up the numbers in my function machine with the numbers in my chart. So here I have a 6. I'm thinking 6 times 3 equals what? Well, I use my chart to help me. Right here, the 6 matches up with the 18. So 6 times 3 equals 18. Now I have a 5. 5 times 3. If you're not sure, check your chart. 5 times 3 we said was 15. On this side I have a 9. I'm asking myself, 3 times what number equals 9? Well, I look down my chart. Here's the 9. It matches up with another 3. That's because 3 times 3 equals 9. Here I have a 12. I'm asking myself, 3 times what number equals 12? I look down my list, here's the 12, and I can see it matches up with a 4. That's because 3 times 4 equals 12. I have a 1 on this side. I'm saying 3 times what equals this mystery number. In my chart, I can see that 3 times 1 equals 3. And last but not least, I have a 27. I'm asking myself, 3 times what number equals 27? Looking down my chart, I can see that here's the 27. It matches up with the 9. In our last example, we're going to look at what happens when it's a division problem. You can still use the same strategy for division. First, check the rule, so I can see I'm dividing by 5. But in my head, I have to think about it a little bit differently. When I divide, it means I'm getting smaller, and you can see that in the chart. The big numbers are on this side now, and the little numbers are on this side. Because if I take 30 and divide it into 5 piles, what's inside each one of those piles is going to be a lot less than 30. So now I'm going to still make that same skip counting chart. I numbered 1 through 10, and I'm going to count by 5 still. So 5, 10, 15. You can see how easy it is when it's an easy thing to count by. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. It's usually a good idea to go back through this chart one more time just to double check that you didn't make any simple counting mistakes, because if you make a mistake on this chart, you're going to make a mistake on this chart as well. So I'm going to double check counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Yep, I'm pretty sure that I was able to skip count correctly. Now I just match up the numbers, but remember, because this is a dividing problem, the numbers are going to be flip-flopped. So the big numbers are going to be on this side, the small numbers are on this side. So I'm looking for the 30. I'm thinking 30 divided by 5. What matches up with 30 on this chart? Well, here's the 30. You can see that it matches up with 6, because 6 times 5 equals 30, or 30 divided by 5 equals 6. Same thing for this one. Now I'm looking at the 50. Can you find in my chart what matches up with 50? If you saw 10 matches up with 50, you would be absolutely correct. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 10 here. That's because if I take 50 and I put it into 5 piles, there will be 10 in each pile. I can also think of it as 10 times 5 equals 50. Now on this one, I'm looking to see what matches up with 2. Look in the chart and see what matches up with a 2. Right here, I can see that the 2 matches up with a 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 10 in the open spot. That's because 10 divided by 5, so 10 little counters put into 5 piles, would mean there's 2 counters in each one of those piles. I can also think 2 times 5 equals 10, because adding or multiplying and dividing are just opposite. Here I have my 4. What matches up with the 4? Looking through my chart, here's the 4. It matches up with the 20. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 20 in the open spot. I know that 20 divided by 5 equals 4. Here I have a 15. Go ahead and look through that chart and see which matches up with the 15. There's my 15, and it matches up with a 3, so I'm going to put a 3 in the blank spot, because 15 divided by 5 is 3. And last but not least, I have a 5. Now I have a problem here. There are 2 5s on my chart. I need to pay special attention to what my problem says. This is a divide by 5 problem. That means that this column has to be bigger than this column, because when you divide, you go from a big number down to a small number. Let's think if this would make sense. If I put a 1 in here, would this column still be bigger than this column? Well, of course not. 1 is not bigger than 5. I can also ask myself, does it make sense if I have 1 and try to put it into 5 piles, would there be 5 things in each one of those piles? Nope. So now I look at over here. Here's my second 5. It matches up with the 25. Let's try putting the 25 over here and see if that makes sense. If I have 25 Skittles and put them into 5 piles, would there be 5 things in each pile? Let's check. Here's 1 pile, 2 piles, 3 piles, 4 piles, 5 piles. Let's share those Skittles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Well, look indeed, there is 5 Skittles in each pile, so this does make sense. And remember, we can also check the first column is bigger than the second column because it's dividing. Remember, it's the opposite when you do multiplying. When you multiply, the first is small and the second is big. The rules, though, are the same. We check the rule box. On this one, it says times 3. We make a chart where we number 1 through 10, and then we skip count by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. The last thing you have to do is match up the numbers in your function machine with the numbers in your chart. I wanted to know what matched up with 6. Here is my 6, and it matched up with 18. Now it's your time to practice on your own. Find the worksheet with the function machine boxes and go ahead and try this strategy. Remember to check the rule box, make the chart where you're skip counting, and then match up the missing numbers based on your chart. Good luck!